Welcome once again, everybody. Boyd here with you. Well, as you can see on my workbench, we have a brand new project that we're starting here on the channel. I announced this last week. This is the Polar Lights 1/350 scale Enterprise refit kit. It's been quite a few years since I've done one of these on the channel. We're going to do an entire build series for you guys, taking you through the whole process step by step. And we're going to be using a lot of aftermarket upgrade parts for extending the detail on the kit. We're going to be using some photo etch from both Green Strawberry and Paragraphics, also several 3D printed and resin parts that are out there, and a lot of other cool stuff, an updated masking set from Mask Design to do our Aztec paneling paintwork. We're going to be doing the full iridescent paint job on this model, and of course some advanced electronics. There's a lot of new updates that are out there since the last time I built one of these, and I've been gathering everything up for the last couple of years. And also during the build process here, I'm going to be looking around to see if there's anything that pops up along the way that might add to the model that we can use. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I announced this build a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about I'll be building this model as a tribute to Paul Olson, who did the original Aztec paintwork on the movie miniature that was used for Star Trek the Motion Picture. And Paul's actually going to be doing some paintwork on this later on in October of 2023 when we have our model show here in San Antonio. He's going to come in and do an airbrush seminar for us at the show there. And then while he's doing that, he's going to be painting some of the detail panel work on the ship at the end. And then we're going to raffle this model away to one lucky winner at the show. And so that person's going to have a kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own an Enterprise model, the only Enterprise that will be painted by Paul besides the original. So this is a really cool and exciting project, and I'm just really happy to be having a chance to work on this. And it's going to be a lot of fun, you guys. What I'm going to do is at the end of each episode, I'm going to list all the supplies and the parts that I use and where I get them from, so that'll help you guys track this stuff down and keep track of what we're using. Also, I want to encourage everybody along the way, if you're going to, if you have a question about something you'd like to see specific or detail of the build as we go, just drop a comment in the comment section on the video, and in the next video I'll do my best to address that specifically and get you guys a little bit more detail on something that you're curious about. So that's how that'll work, you guys. I'm really excited to get going, like I said, and today we're going to start off in episode number 1 with working on the upper saucer section. We've got to attach the side walls and then do some putty work to get rid of the seams there. I'll show you some methods that I use for that work really well. And then we're going to do a little bit of light blocking on that for our first step here. So I'm going to get set up on the bench and get everything ready to go, and we'll get kicked off on this build, you guys. I'm really excited to get going. Be right back with the saucer up on the workbench. Okay, everybody, well, I'm set up on the bench now, and I've got the upper part of the saucer removed from the packaging. I just had a quick look at it to make sure that everything is looking good on this part here. We don't have any major warping issues or major defects in the mold. Everything looks pretty much the way it should be. So we're going to be starting off with attaching these outer walls onto the saucer. Now, as you take these outer wall parts off of the sprue, you may notice that some of them have flattened out where they were attached, and you'll see a little bit of a flat spot there, and you don't want to have that. So you can fix that really easy by just taking your hands here and gently working those back into shape. You know, try to match the original curve that was there, so you don't have to fight with that when you go to put these on a little bit later. And it straightens out really easy. This plastic is really flexible and easy to work with. So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to the instructions for where these are actually located on the saucer. There are specific spots where they go. And what we have here is we have these parts that have the airlock assembly, which you see here. It's this rectangle shape, and that's located on the port side of the saucer. So you want to make sure that you're working on that area first to kind of get those located. And I'm going to go ahead and set these on here just to show you. And the curvature of these parts might be a little bit off, and you might have to fight that a little bit. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be using a little bit of CA glue, just a couple of drops, once I get ready to glue these in place, and that way we can kind of lock them in and make sure they're going to be straight and secured, and then we'll come back and back that up with some regular model glue. I'm not going to be doing any primer or any paint work on this until we get this assembly done, so we've got clear, clean plastic to glue to. That's really important. And we're going to work our way around. Now, the other thing that you might notice here is that the way this kit was designed, if you're going to light this model, you're going to have to do a little bit of modification on this outer ring that's been molded into the saucer edge here. Because as you can see, these channels, the way they're designed, if you put these on there like this, they're going to completely block the light from getting in there, especially when you put the bottom part of the saucer on. So we've got to open these up. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at where the window groups are. We don't need to open up the entire thing. We just want to make sure we got an area where the light can get through. We're going to be putting little strips of LED strip lighting right here in each window location a little bit later on to get our lighting for the windows. We've also got the outer navigation lights that are on the outside edge of the saucer, which we've got to open up a little spot for that, for our wire and our LED. We're going to be using SMDs for that. Again, a lot of that will be coming a little bit later on. We got to make sure all those areas are opened up all the way around. So I'm just taking my black magic marker here and laying these parts on, and then making note of where the window groups are located, and then I'm just making a little bit of mark there, and that'll tell me the area that I have to remove the plastic from with my grinding tool. Okay, so these parts, we're just going to kind of lay them on here, and they're going to be falling off and stuff like that along the way, because I'm not, you know, gluing anything yet. Mainly what I'm trying to do now is just get these locations nailed down. We want to leave the these support pins in here so that we have a nice flat surface for these things to glue to. We don't want to cut all of this off of here, okay? So what I'm doing now is just going around and lining these up one at a time and making sure I get it right. Okay, we're going to go with this next one here. This is kind of a tedious process, but all part of what we need to do to install lighting in the model. I'm going to make sure I've got these. Let me see here. I think I've got this one backwards. Let me see how this one lines up. Okay, we've got that one there. Go ahead and make our mark where our window group is again. Looks like my marker's trying to die on me here. Let's try a different one and see if we get better results. Okay. All right, got that one. Then we're going to go to the next group. Gotta make sure you put these in the right location, you guys. It's very important. Rec deck on the starboard side here, which that one doesn't look like we're going to have to do much with, you guys, because it's already been opened up here. I'm really curious why they engineered it that way when you're pretty much sure that most people are going to light this model kit, but maybe someday in the future they'll update this kit and correct that issue. It's just a little bit of extra work that we need to do. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we've got to come back over here and make sure that we've got this one on the port side, lining up with our impulse deck, and we're going to remove that much. Okay, so now what I'm also going to look for is the where the navigation lights are located, so we're going to have to take some material out there. Just kind of make a mark there. That's got to come out. We've got to remove some material here for where the thrusters are located. We'll decide what kind of actual lighting we're going to use for that a little bit later on. Probably a 5mm amber LED for that. Okay, I'll just kind of darken these up, the ones that I had trouble with. Okay, we can get these pieces out of the way here. all set with that initial first step, you guys. Now what I'm going to be doing is using I've got this little air-powered grinding tool here. I'm going to go to work and grind these out. It's going to be really noisy and really messy, so I'm not going to show you that part. I may show you one when I finish up at the end so you can see the technique that I'm using on that, but it'll take me a few minutes to get this done. We'll come back and show you that, and then we'll be ready to start gluing these pieces in place around the outside edge. Be right back, you guys. We are back, everybody. That took me about 15 minutes or so, I would say, to get all these opened up. You can see I've grinded away all the plastic in the areas that we had marked here for our window groups, and also the little individual spots where we got our thruster lighting and our navigation lighting on the outer edge of the ring. I just took my grinding tool here and just worked these down. It was too loud for me to show that part to you guys, but it's really easy, guys. Just use it. You can use your own type of tool, whether you have a Dremel tool or whatever you're going to use, but just be careful not to damage any of the plastic that that's anywhere near where you're removing that material. Then I came back with my hobby and I've just kind of scraped away all the excess shavings and all that, got it a little bit cleaned up. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want to make sure they're opened up all the way so that your light will make it in there and light those window groups up around the saucer edge nice and bright. So we're ready to start gluing down some of these panels here, you guys. I'm just going to go back and gather up my parts here and make sure I start off in the right place. We've got this one with the slot in it that needs to go. Where's that one hiding at here? There we go. Okay, so we've got this docking port like we talked about, this airlock, and that's got to go on the we want to make sure that that's on the port side here, so when we flip this over we realize the port side is over here, so we want to make sure we put that in the right place. So we're just going to lay this in here like this, and since these are curved parts, they will try to fight you a little bit, and regular model glue will not hold these in place right off the bat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these worked in so they're sitting down there nice and tight, and then I'm going to put just a drop of CA glue on this. Kind of one peg at a time kind of thing here. And we'll hit that with a little bit of kicker. This will take a little bit of time, but if you work your way all the way around that way, it'll make sure everything is lined up nice and straight. Then we can come back and supplement that with some regular model glue. I'll get these two pieces put in place for you guys, and then I'll continue on and come back and show you the result here on camera. I'm using this thin CA, so it doesn't take very much. Gotta be careful with this stuff not to let too much get in there. We don't want to flood this thing with glue. Give that just a second to set up. Alright, you guys, everything's looking pretty good there. I'm just going to check the outer edge really quick. Looks nice. Okay, so we're going to back that up with some regular model glue now. And we'll just put a nice bead along this edge here. And make sure we get it down in the seam area. edge a little bit here. Probably should be able to get that from the inside just as well. This is also a really thin type model blue that'll flow in there where it needs to get, just all kind of by itself. So we're off to a good start here with this part, you guys. I'll be working my way around on the entire thing, and I'll have to off camera let this dry for a little bit to make sure it's nice and solid. And then what I'm going to show you guys next is we're going to come back and do our putty work. You can see that what we have here is we're going to have some little gaps between the panel segments here. And we've got this really nice detail of the deflector, well, I think they're called deflector rings or sensor bands possibly. And we don't want to lose that detail there by sanding that off. So I'm going to be using some of this perfect plastic putty. I really like using this stuff because it's water-based, and you can basically sand with water. What I'm going to show you here, guys, is we're going to put some putty on here. We're going to let it dry really nice, and we're going to actually use a towel to wipe the excess putty off and leave the putty we want and fill in all these gaps. And that way we're not going to be sanding away any of the detail that's on this surface here, and make this look all nice and smooth and get all those little gaps filled in. And so that edge will look really nice when we're done with it. Alright guys, I'm going to continue on putting these little pieces in place and get everything dried up, and we'll come back for the next step. Be right back. We are back once more, everybody, and I've been working on the outer edge of the saucer here with my putty. I'm using this perfect plastic putty, and this is really good material, you guys. This is pretty much my go-to putty anymore. I really like this because it's water-based and you can clean it up really easily. It doesn't attack any of the plastic or anything like that. And a lot of times we can avoid sanding when we use this stuff. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. This will break down with water. Now you can see I've gone around here and put putty on the areas where our ends meet together for our little segments that we just finished gluing onto the saucer here. And as I mentioned, we've got this nice little detail that goes all the way around here, these sort of engraved rings that are part of the sensor band of the ship. So we don't want to lose a lot of that detail here. So basically what I'm going to do, guys, is I've let this dry. You want to make sure it's thoroughly dry. That way it won't come off super easy. You don't want it to come off, you know, too easy. And I'm just taking a paper towel and getting it wet with regular water. Okay, and then we're going to just start, I'm going to call this water sanding, you guys. So we're going to start off in this little section right here, and I'll hopefully get this in the camera right for you guys. And we're just going to start wiping this excess material off of here. As you can see, even after it's been dried it's been sitting here for a good couple of hours, this stuff will break down right away and start coming off. And the important thing that I want to point out about this stuff, you guys, is that, you know, using this method, you may have to do this once or twice, because it may sink in just a little bit once you, you know, you wipe it off. So, but you won't have to put nearly as much on the second time around when you go ahead and do this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of making sure I stay away from the actual spot where the seam is, and I'm just wiping off all the putty that has got into the detail there, these little rings that I'm talking about. And then we've also got these two little holes here where the thruster lights are going to be. So let me go ahead and take my little my hobby knife here and get that hole opened back up real quick. Just like that. Hopefully you guys can see that. Get that nice and close for you. You can see what I've done is I've wiped away all the putty except for where it is right there on the seam itself. Now once we prime this, we'll be able to see how it looks, you know, up close. If we have to, we can just lightly take our, let me get this out and show you guys. I have my scribing tool here. We'll see how it looks after it's primed, but if we have to, we can slightly drag this over that seamed area there and make the lines reappear on the, you know, just let it fit in one of these little grooves right here and just let it go over it. I don't want to do it now because it's still soft, but that's how you can go back and clean that up if you need to. Some of these fit together really tight, and some of them have a pretty substantial gap in them. I did a little bit more around the airlock that we talked about that's on the port side of the saucer here. Just getting that seam filled in. We'll just take our hobby knife here and scrape off the stuff that got in the inner part. There's a little plug, like an insert, that goes in here, and then you have to use the photo etch part over the top of that. That'll be a ways down the road. In the next video, we're going to be working on this saucer a little bit more, and I'm going to show you guys how to work in the photo etch parts. We've got the rec deck windows that need to go in here, and the officer's lounge windows here up on the top. And we'll be working with some photo etch parts on that. We have to do a little bit of cutting and shaping. Basically, I'll explain really quick, guys, is that when you put the photo etch parts on, especially this one here, you don't want that to lay over top of the assembly here. You want that to be flush with this hole. So that's going to require this hole here that's already been opened to maybe be just a little bit bigger. What I like to do is, so I don't have to cut out a lot of plastic there, I'll actually trim off a little bit of the photo etch part itself on the sides, and that way we don't have to make that hole so big. But just a little bit of filing work there and sanding, and we'll get that opened up. We've got to go in here and clean up all these holes where the flash and everything is in the window ports, but that'll come in the next step here. But let me work on one more of these seams and show you how that's going to go. Got a little bit up on the top here. But you can see how easy this cleans up. After you've wiped it off, just let it dry for 15-20 minutes, and the putty will harden back up, and your seams will be nice and clean. Like I said, you may have to do that once or twice, depending on how much it shrinks on you. But that's the basic technique, guys. It works really good. I use this a lot when I'm doing seam work on my models. It saves me a whole lot of sanding, and as you can see, we're not losing all of that. If we would have used regular putty right here, we would have had to gone and re-scribe and get all that stuff out. Would have been really time consuming, and then when you sand it, you would have probably lost some of that detail there. Let me get a little bit more water and freshen this up a little bit. Hope I'm not too close to the camera for you guys. It's coming around real nice. Got another thruster port here. And there you go. You can see that it's left the seam filled in there, and then we've cleaned up the rest of it where it looks just like it did before we put any putty on it. Really quick, a lot quicker than doing regular sanding and scribing work. So what I'll be doing, guys, is going around doing that on all the rest of the edges here, getting this all cleaned up. And like I said, I may have to go back and put another light coat on there if it shrinks on me a little bit. And this stuff sticks really good to primer too, so you can prime over this and see how it looks. And if you need to put a little bit more putty, it's no worry at all. You can put the putty right over the top of the primer and then clean it all back up and then reprime it again. All right, you guys, well, that's the conclusion of their first part of our video series here. We'll be back on the next one. I'll probably come back around Wednesday or so of next week and show you the next steps to this. What we're going to be doing then is, like I mentioned, going in and getting all these holes cleaned up. We've got to open this up a little bit more to do our lighting on our bridge area. We're going to remove these raised details here. because our bridge is actually going to be slid just slightly a little bit forward when we mount it on here. That's a tip that I showed you guys in the builds in the past, but we'll explain that a little bit more. It's so we can get our floodlighting put in our bridge here and be able to shine it down onto the front of the saucer here. If the bridge is sitting too far back, this ledge will be in the way. So this is something a lot of the people that build these refits are doing. You can move it slightly forward, it still looks pretty much correct, and solves that little problem right there. We're also going to be going in and shaving down all these raised phaser bank details, because this is incorrect on this ship. It shouldn't have this raised rectangle area around there. That should be flat. I'll be showing you a neat little trick to make the little round parts that stick up once we sand those to bring that detail back. That's really easy to do. And then we're going to come in here and do all of our inner light blocking with some black paint, and then finally some white, and then this will be ready to start putting in our lighting. We're going to be putting some LED strip in our basic wiring layout, set up our lighting here for the back for the impulse crystal, the bridge, and the officer's lounge. So we'll be back in the next one next Wednesday or so, you guys. Thanks for checking us out. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is a lot of fun. Really excited to get going on this, and it's going to turn out really nice, you guys. We're going to have a lot of neat aftermarket parts to show you along the way too. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time. Take care and happy modeling, everyone.